Warno, eyes only, burn. Sit rep, Raven asset, shortstop, no longer in comms, biotracker, offline on or about 0335 Zulu. Op-ord, Raven is tasked as follows. 1. Fast rope infiltration onto Seaborn platform, 3 clicks from port. 2. Locate shortstop and confirm identity. 3. Exfiltrate with shortstop via sea primary or air secondary. Occult, human sacrifice confirmed. Rules of engagement as provided. Eyes only, burn. Welcome back, Raven. So today we're going to go over the F3 AAD, which we referred to in the last video as find, fix, finish, exploit, analyze, and disseminate. If you haven't watched that video, make sure you watch that because they won't make much sense unless you're doing these in order of precedence. So the first part of F3 AAD, besides the find piece, and is really understanding the primary tasking. So the Warnor you just heard, the primary tasking is a SAR, or search and rescue mission. There is no secondary tasking involved in there. However, secondary tasking can happen organically, even if you haven't planned for it on the ground. You can't plan for everything, and these missions are designed, the design method is meant to prevent railroading. It still could be done if you really want to. We advise against it because of everything you're putting down. You're giving those players opportunity to really explore the setting and just go as haywire as possible in dealing with as much as you've put down and thrown at them. So for in this one, we're talking about an occult practice, an actual cult, but we also know there's probably cryptids in the area, as you can see from the pit, because we drew that. It's that pit, secretly special intelligence can be discovered later, is the home of a Madre de Agua, and the Madre de Agua is a cryptid. So now that we have kind of an idea of primary tasking and why that's important, you get that down. Let's talk about the find portion. So the find portion is, there's no deployments yet. This is the part where you and the players are at the table. This is kind of have the settings set up here. You can see the players will all have their bennies, and off to the side here we have Klaus. Klaus is what we call Raven support staff. It's part of our Raven cell. There's really no limit on what you want to have in place, but Klaus is an allied extra. There's rules for that in the game. Sufficient to say Klaus was an allied extra, but because his Raven support role is TAC intel. And that just gives him a step above a normal human being when conducting research into intelligence products. And we'll show you how that comes into play. So during the find portion, this is where the players can act themselves, or they can use their allied extras, and they're going to conduct indications and warnings, INW. And this is looking at the full spectrum of intelligence of what they can possibly find out about the region they're deploying to, and some of the targets they may be looking at, and those are going to be the 5 things that are known, right? And it gives them points to focus on, instead of just being a very in general look at what's happening. So when we go down to the Warno, we have an idea of what's happening, have an idea of their tasking, and really it's time to start building that intelligence, that mission. And you have to remember, intelligence comes in a lot of facets, and we give some examples in the book under this section, and they're by no means the only way you can do business. But you're looking at human, which uses intimidation or persuasion. That's human intelligence gathering by speaking to people. Signals intelligence or communications intelligence, that's used through electronics. Overhead imagery, that's using research. ISR drones, which is surveillance and reconnaissance, right? Intel gathering, that's piloting. Cyber operations, that's hacking. Metaphysical phenomenon, it's using the occult. Hard sciences, and you can use any science that may be applicable to the setting or what's happening. Tradecraft, that's the dirty work on the ground, that's done with stealth and thievery. There's also social media, which is common knowledge. Again, just looking at it there, you could bring academics into it, talking about maybe using things like anthropology. Academics represents the soft sciences, instead of the hard sciences like physics, represented by the actual science skill. And again, the sciences and academics, you really have to kind of think outside the box of what someone may ask about. They may want to know, I have science engineering. I want to know about structural support of what are the buildings made of? What are the bridges made of? Because that may change how these operators, especially if you're going to an area where there's, APCs, tanks, things like that. Those pieces could be important, and it's always smart to listen to your players because they create their characters and they take skills for reasons. They take edges for reasons, and it's not always advantages in combat. So kind of get ready for that. So what happens first in this find, fix, finish is it's a run as a quick encounter. It's staged. There's 3 stages to it. So the players have it's a very limited dwell time to find out as much as they can about a limited scope. So they're going to have to start choosing. And again, we have terrain, weather, imagery, combatants, non-combatants, culture, and occult threats. And for these, you have the players get to pick topics. So each player is going to pick one topic area. They can use Klaus to make the roll. They can support Klaus, or they can have Klaus support them. It really is up to how they want to run things. So in this instance, we're going to have Idrib. Idrib is a case officer. So he wants to know about the culture on the ground. And to do that, we're going to go ahead and open up his character sheet. And actually, so I'm going to scoot that out of the way. It's just a little bit easier to kind of have these conversations. So what Idrib would do is Idrib is going to decide, I want to know about culture. And he's obviously going to have skill in intimidation and or persuasion. So Idrib is going to decide that he's better at that than Klaus is, but he does want to use Klaus in a support role. The other players could also offer up to act in support. It doesn't really matter. It just, the rules for support are in play, and there is a problem if you get a success or raises, you're going to find things out. And if you start to fail these, or you do fail these, especially if it's a critical failure, you're going to start in a disadvantage. Essentially, it removes a Benny from you to represent sort of circumstances turning against you. So in this case, we're going to go with Idrib. Is asking about culture, rolls out and gets a success, plus the backing of Klaus's support, gets a success on culture and a single raise. So you can ask Idrib's player, what do you want to know about? Do you want to know about cultural phenomenons, cultural norms, languages? And in this case, Idrib wants to know about languages. And it can be very, very, very specific because they're going into a South American location, and he doesn't want to assume that it's only one or 2 languages will be the only things that are handy. So in the success, Idrib knows very well that the populace speaks fluent Spanish as a primary language, and that most people understand English to a degree, if not to a fine degree. With the raise, he also learns through Klaus's help that despite not being in a proximal zone, there is a decent amount of Quechua spoken in the AOR. And so Idrib's player can make a note of that on the mission card and say, cool, here's the languages now we've got down from the cultural piece and Quechua. And then you can start looking at operators, and maybe you have a Raven soft cell and you bring along a Terp who, now you've given them ranks in Quechua if the players don't have that. So from Idrib, we're going to move to Mira. Mira is more action-oriented. Weapons and tactics is her gig, so she puts holes through things, and very happy with that. So Mira is going to explore the option of you don't have to roll, but Mira, you can sacrifice a Benny and to gain a success and a raise on one topic. And Mira wants to know, of course, combatants. And so you can ask, what kind of combatants do you want to know about? You want to know about civilians, militia, cartel, law enforcement, host nation military, and she wants to know about host nation military. Mira's run in with the cartel before, doesn't really bother her. But the host nation military might be different because since there's a suspicion that a large cartel doesn't function like this without some backing from the host nation. So for her Benny gone, she learns that there is in fact a host nation, and it controls some regions, but not all. There's no-go zones they seem to have. On that raise, there are elite soldiers, commando level special forces that will likely engage Raven if there is a lot of wet work being done and Raven begins making way too much noise. It becomes way too obvious that they're in country. So again, another one of those, when you follow the rules of engagement, it can really help out. And Raven's very rarely declared in host nation. Now, with the Benny burn, while that may seem tempting and just a fast way of doing this, that Benny remains gone for the rest of this mission. So Mira will earn Bennies normally, but if this mission, what we're going to call Thunder Oak, takes place over 5 sessions, Mira doesn't start with 3 Bennies each session. She only starts with 2 Bennies. That is, she burned luck, fate, opportunity, whatever you see the Bennies as, and whatever you can imagine it as. She burned that, and that's going to put her at a slight disadvantage when it comes to the rest of it. But that just means Mira's player gets to earn Bennies, right, a traditional way, and it means the GM has to be on top of their game with rewarding Bennies for Mira playing her character, hindrances, edges, and being an all-round operator. So we're going to go through that. Each player pulls their turn, so the more players you have, the more things you can find out. If you have only 1 or 2 operators, by all means, give them some of the Raven Cell support, pull it in. I wouldn't go crazy. You might limit the Raven Cell support initially to, like half smarts, whatever you want to do, just whatever makes it more palatable for you as a GM. Feel free to say no that you don't have a giant support staff, because remember, these are cell units and operating out of forward operating bases. So it's not like you have the entire task force with you. You do have to do things on your own. The task force, you were selected because they expect you to be able to hop on a bird, take those long 15-hour flights, and you're not only getting your kit loaded out, but you're also discussing intelligence. And that is the end of the find phase. Once everyone has completed it, everyone has decided what they want to do, and now they have 1 or more items of intelligence, and they can really begin plotting the next phase, which is going to be fix. Until next time, stay frosty.